The investigation began on an ordinary autumn morning that seemed to promise nothing more than the usual rhythm of city life, yet fate had something exceptional planned. Detective Miles found himself drawn into a bewildering puzzle when a cryptic note, a final message that appeared both out of place and deeply significant, was discovered in a quiet back room of the victim's modest apartment. The note, scrawled in an unsteady hand and marked by peculiar symbols and abrupt punctuation, immediately unsettled Miles, whose career had rarely presented him with clues as enigmatic and charged with emotion as this one. Every gesture in the apartment, every misplaced object framing the scene, whispered hints of a carefully concealed story, and Miles felt the weight of hidden truth pressing in like the chill of a winter wind. From the very first moment, it became clear that nothing about the victim's life was as it appeared. The victim, whose daily routines had painted an image of quiet regularity and unassuming habits, now resonated with layers of unspoken secrets, every detail of the living space hinting at an internal life of complexity and concealed conflict. The discovery of the final note challenged everything Miles had assumed about the deceased. The note's message was ambiguous, simultaneously evoking the despair of a soul pushed to extreme isolation, and the tantalizing possibility of a desperate final attempt to awaken someone from oblivion. It was as if the note had been written under duress, with a deliberate choice of words meant to mislead or perhaps reveal. The text blinked in the dim light of the room like a beacon to a truth hidden just beneath the surface of everyday life. In the cool, measured silence of the crime scene, the detective meticulously pieced together the evidence. His trained eyes noticed that the final note was not a simple farewell. It was layered, hinting at secret locations, coded references to memories only the writer could recall, and even subtle allusions to previous events that no one had connected before. Each symbol, each erratic stroke of the pen, demanded a careful analysis, drawing Miles into a labyrinth of clues that forced him to question whether the note was meant as a confessional message, a dying plea for help, or a clever diversion from a darker conspiracy. As he walked slowly between the shadows of the room, the detective's thoughts spiraled into realms of uncertainty, where every possibility seemed equally plausible, and every answer only deepened the mystery. Outside the apartment building, the golden light of dawn mingled with the cool blues of early morning as Miles reviewed the preliminary findings in his personal study. Here, surrounded by files and notebooks from countless cases, he experienced a moment of introspection. The victim had lived a life that on the surface appeared mundane, an existence marked by quiet routines and solitary evenings, but the note told a very different story. It hinted at pain, at avoidance, and at a sense of longing for something that could never be recaptured. Miles's mind raced as he began to construct the life that might have led the victim to such despair. Was there an unseen torment, a hidden relationship that had festered over time, or perhaps a betrayal that cut so deeply that it transformed life into a silent tragedy? The detective's investigation led him through the city's undercurrents and into places where whispered secrets roamed freely in the dim corridors of night. His footsteps moved steadily along cracked sidewalks and neon-lit alleyways as he retraced the victim's final hours. Along the way, the detective encountered subtle references: an abandoned cafe that had once been a meeting place, a neglected telephone booth where the victim had supposedly made a mysterious call, and a park bench beneath which an old, forgotten journal was tucked away. Each location seemed to shield its own cosmic uncertainty, inviting Miles to search deeper into the tangled web of half-remembered voices and almost forgotten events. In the park, under the sprawling arms of an aged oak, Miles paused before a weathered bench that had seen years of quiet contemplation by unknown souls. Here, the detective recalled fragments of the victim's life, a passion for literature, a secret love for classical music, and an odd fascination with puzzles and codes. The bench, its surface scratched by the passage of time, now came alive with the silent testimony to a life once full of dreams and quiet aspirations. Miles's careful analysis of every lost detail led him to speculate that the victim might have been involved in something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. As he considered the possibility of an abusive relationship or an entanglement with unscrupulous characters lurking at the city's darker edges, a turbulent interplay of emotions arose. Anger for the injustice suffered, sorrow for the loss of a vibrant inner world, and a foreboding sense of impending crisis. Returning to his cluttered study, Detective Miles spread out all the available evidence on a large wooden table, its surface bearing the scars of many past cases. The final note lay in the center, surrounded by photographs, newspaper clippings, and scribbled annotations that Miles had painstakingly collected. In that moment, every piece of evidence merged into a singular narrative, a narrative that challenged the simplistic explanation of suicide that some had been quick to accept. Instead, the evidence painted a picture of calculated finality, one that could be interpreted as either a deliberate act of self-destruction meant to conceal a far larger scheme, or as a desperate cry against unseen forces that had driven the victim to an irreversible decision. The detective's contemplative gaze traveled back and forth over the written words on the note. Each phrase seemed intentionally ambiguous, as though it had been composed to provoke deeper questions rather than provide answers. Among the hastily inscribed lines, Miles deciphered what could be a reference to an ongoing investigation of corruption, a dark underbelly of bureaucratic deceit that may have ensnared the victim, a web of compromise and moral degradation. Equally plausible was the notion that the note was a personal message, a final farewell to a loved one who had been ensnared by the vicissitudes of a lonely existence. His mind became a theater where scenarios played out one after the other, each more shocking and intricate than the last. The detective could almost hear the muted whispers of what might have been a lifetime of suppressed secrets, a narrative that was now begging to be told, as each clue revealed a fragment of the hidden truth. As Miles delved deeper into the investigation, he began to notice recurring motifs that transcended the individual details of the crime. The cryptic note itself was emblematic of a broader pattern, a motif of silence and secrecy that pervaded the victim's entire life. Photographs found scattered about the apartment revealed moments of joy and sorrow, snapshots that hinted at a secret life marked by clandestine meetings and urgent messages passed in the dark. With each new piece of evidence, Detective Miles realized that the victim had been entangled in relationships that stretched beyond the immediate circle of acquaintances, a network of individuals whose actions, though subtle, exerted a profound influence over the progression of events. The detective's inner voice insisted that the victim's last note was not merely an isolated message written in a moment of desperation, but rather the culmination of an internal battle where hope, despair, and defiance had converged in a final, fateful declaration. The investigation took an unexpected turn when an old friend of the victim, whose presence had been barely noted in previous interrogations, reappeared with hints of having known a side of the victim that had been kept hidden away from prying eyes. This friend's recollections painted a picture of a person caught between public conformity and private revolution, a person who had, in subtle ways, questioned the very nature of normalcy. Detective Miles meticulously traced the friend's scattered memories, each recollection confirming suspicions that the victim's seemingly quiet life was underpinned by internal conflicts that extended far into the realms of controversial opinions and secret alliances. If the victim had been scrambling through the maze of human relationships with a cautious grace, the final note now emerged as an echo of that struggle, a signal flare cast toward a future that could have redefined everything, had it not been cut short by an act that seemed all too final. The detective's relentless pursuit of understanding drove him to re-examine evidence that had long been dismissed as routine. He revisited old security footage from the apartment building, a series of seemingly insignificant moments that now took on a new gravity when viewed in the context of the mysterious note. As he scrutinized the grainy images, a peculiar detail caught his eye, a shadow that flickered in one of the frames, an anonymous presence that had been overlooked in the original investigation. That fleeting image sent a tremor of urgency through Miles's mind as he surmised that perhaps the final note was not solely a product of personal despair, but might also have been connected to a carefully orchestrated scheme involving individuals with much more to gain from the victim's silence. In the labyrinth of clues, every revelation seemed to be intertwined with equally confounding uncertainties. The investigative trail led Miles into archives of old case files where he discovered patterns echoing the desperate signals embedded in the victim's last note. Each documented instance of seemingly isolated tragedies began to reveal a subtle, unifying thread, a covert network operating in the shadows of society, whose methods were as shrouded in mystery as the symbols on the note. The detective felt an undercurrent of defiance stirring within him, as if the entire pact of silence that had wrapped around the case was challenging him to dismantle it piece by mysterious piece. Every long night spent poring over documents, and every painstaking effort to decode the cryptic lines forged an unspoken alliance between the truth and his determination to uncover it. The journey of investigation grew increasingly personal for Detective Miles, as echoes of his own past resonated with the victim's silent struggle, haunted by memories of unresolved cases and the burdens of decisions that no one could fully comprehend. Miles found himself walking the delicate line between professional detachment and empathetic identification. The once clear demarcations between right and wrong, success and failure, began to blur as he recognized that in both his world and that of the victim, truth was often hidden beneath layers of ambiguity and regret. The omnipresent clock in his office ticked methodically, mirroring the relentless passage of time and the urgency of his race against an unseen adversary. A race not against a tangible criminal, but against the erosion of evidence, memory, and the profound weight of lost opportunity. In quiet moments, as Detective Miles pondered the symbolism of the faded note, he conjured images of candlelight flickering in dim rooms and the soft rustle of paper, as if whispering the secrets of eras long past. His thoughts meandered around the idea that this case was not a singular tragedy, it was emblematic of the many silent stories that formed the heartbeat of the city. The note, with its cryptic expressions and hidden references, was like a solitary beacon amidst the chaos, a small, unyielding light that urged him to question everything, to look beyond the obvious, and to understand that even in the quietest lives, the storms of passion, betrayal, and defiance could rage with an intensity that belied the outward calm. The investigation's progression was punctuated by a series of startling revelations that forced Miles to reconstruct the victim's final hours with painstaking precision. Each new finding was like a piece of a larger jigsaw puzzle, and as the fragments began to align, the detective discovered layers of subterfuge and intrigue that ran much deeper than he had previously imagined. Clues that had initially pointed toward a simple case of self-destruction soon morphed into evidence of calculated orchestration, deliberate misdirection in financial records, carefully orchestrated meetings at odd hours, and photographs that captured moments of clandestine interactions between the victim and enigmatic figures now lost to the mists of time. With every connection he made, Detective Miles felt both the exhilaration of the chase and the somber weight of a truth that could shatter long-held perceptions about the nature of the victim's demise. As the investigation neared its most critical juncture, the notes, symbols, and memories coalesced into a narrative that was as unexpected as it was chilling. It became clear that the final note was not the rambling outburst of a life in despair. It was a deliberate articulation of a journey, one that spanned years, hidden alliances, and internal battles fought in silence. The victim, whose existence had been marked by quiet melancholy and routine obscurity, had used that enigmatic note as the ultimate act of communication, Within its cryptic lines lay the admission of a betrayal too deep for surface-level observations, and the confession of a love lost to circumstances that defied logic. The careful placement of every comma, every question mark, and every hastily sketched symbol transformed the note into a coded map, a guide that led not to a criminal mastermind or a brutish act of violence, but into the labyrinth of the human soul, where unresolved heartbreak and injustice mingled like faint strains of an eternal lament. In the waning hours of the investigation, Detective Miles's journey reached an apex of emotional resonance and intellectual rigor. The quiet clatter of his office, the soft hum of a distant city night, and the almost tangible presence of past conversations all entwined to create an atmosphere that was as heavy with legacy as it was with the promise of revelation. In the final analysis, the detective understood that the case of the last note was far from a neat resolution of facts. It was an invitation to confront the uncomfortable intersection of memory and mystery. It was a reminder that even in moments of finality, when the last vestiges of life's energy flicker out, every soul leaves behind a mosaic of truths, some painful, some redemptive, but always layered with an undeniable complexity that defies simple explanation. Thus, as the final threads of evidence were woven together into an intricate tapestry, Detective Miles felt a tumult of emotions. The discovery of the cryptic note had not only unearthed the hidden dimensions of a life once deemed ordinary, but had also stirred within him an enduring commitment to confront the shadows that lie just beneath the surface. Each carefully analyzed symbol, every forgotten photograph, and every whispered recollection had converged to reveal a truth that was as multifaceted and melancholy as the human heart itself. In that intricate interplay of light and shadow, joy and sorrow, and hope and despair, the detective found both the key to solving the mystery and a deeper understanding of the fragile beauty of life, one that reminds us that even the quietest souls can harbor secrets worth unraveling. In the echo of that final note, the investigation became a reflection of the timeless struggle between the known and the unknown, the explicit and the unspoken. Detective Miles emerged not just as the solver of a case, but as the chronicler of a silent narrative that reached into the core of human existence. Every meticulously gathered detail, every subtle nuance of evidence, every eerie symbol in the fading ink of that note spoke to a reality that was far more intricate than the mere summation of events. It was a reality where the boundaries of truth were continually redrawn by the restless pulse of memory, where every end marked the quiet promise of a new beginning, hidden behind the veil of regret. As the city stirred with the soft glow of early morning light, Detective Miles allowed himself a rare moment of introspection. The case had not rendered the simple clarity that one might find in a standard police report. Instead, it had unearthed a layered narrative that would forever challenge his understanding of human nature. In the silent testimony of the final note, there existed not merely a cry for help or an act of farewell, but an intricate mosaic of human emotion, a carefully constructed enigma that defied resolution for the sake of its own complexity. And so the detective's resolve grew stronger, fueled by the recognition that uncovering truth in a world so steeped in ambiguity was as much a matter of heart as it was of intellect. The case, with all its twists and shadowy revelations, serves as a testament to the enduring mystery that lies within each life. The final note became more than a mere piece of evidence. It was a memorial to a soul whose quiet existence had masked a torrid inner world of dreams, disappointments, and unfathomable secrets. Detective Miles, standing against the relentless march of time and the ceaseless flow of everyday life, recognized that behind every routine facade lay a powerful story waiting to be unveiled. It was a story that challenged assumptions, questioned established narratives, and ultimately underscored the idea that every individual carries within them a universe of hidden truths. In the end, as the investigation drew to a contemplative close, the city itself seemed to hold its breath, a collective pause that acknowledged the weight of what had been unraveled. The case of the last note is remembered not for its sensational twists or dramatic confrontations, but for the poignant reminder it imparts that life in all its ordinariness is a tapestry woven with threads of mystery, emotion, and deeper meaning. Detective Miles left the scene with a profound understanding that the most unassuming notes, the quietest whispers of despair or hope, can sometimes open the door to the most extraordinary as an imposter revelations. Thus, in the quiet aftermath, illuminated by the soft dawn light filtering through weathered windows, the narrative of the victim's life, a narrative marked by silent struggles and hidden battles, found its resonance in the determined gaze of a detective who saw beyond the apparent. Each faded word on that final note now stands as a symbol of redemption, a subtle invitation to look deeper, and a reminder that within every ending lies the dormant seed of a myriad untold beginnings. And so the story lingers, suspended in time, a beautiful, tragic composition that continues to echo in the hearts of those who believe that the truth, however obscured by cryptic whispers and unanswered questions, will one day be fully revealed. Every carefully recorded detail, every ephemeral memory captured in photographs and scattered recollections, merges into a final chapter that defies conventional explanations. In the interplay of shadow and light, joy and mourning, the enigma of the final note transforms into a legacy of resilience and quiet defiance. It is a legacy that Detective Miles, with unwavering dedication and introspective resolve, promises to honor by continuing his quest for truth wherever it may lead. The puzzle remains incomplete for many, yet in its fragments lies the immortal testament to a life lived in the hidden spaces between silence and sound. A space where hope endures despite the overwhelming weight of regret. This narrative, carved out from the silent echoes of an ordinary life, endures as a timeless reminder of both the fragility and strength of the human spirit. It is a story that speaks to every listener, urging them to acknowledge the mysteries that reside just beyond the surface, and to embrace the unknown as an intrinsic part of life's delicate balance. In that final note, a veil was lifted, and a multitude of hidden truths were laid bare. Truths that continue to inspire not only a determined detective, but all who dare to see the beauty behind mystery itself. And so, as the chapter closes on this investigation, and the once cryptic final note now echoes with profound clarity, the realization remains that every ending is but a new beginning, subtly waiting in the shadows. In the resonant silence, Detective Miles, and by extension each of us, finds the resolve to transform despair into discovery, and isolation into a shared journey of ever-unfolding truth.